Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Lorna Bladen. I'm Head of Campaigns at Enterprise Nation. Today's webinar is part of a programme of business support, which we are offering to Havering entrepreneurs. So really delighted that Jo Seeley, founder of tomarket.co.uk, is here with us today to share all of her marketing expertise with us all. Jo, welcome.
Hi, afternoon, and afternoon to all of our Havering clients. Good to be on here with you. So this afternoon we're just going through a whistle-stop tour of marketing for all of you brilliant startups. It's necessarily short because we've got lots and lots of time, but hopefully it gives you a flavour of what you should be thinking about when you're trying to work out what's the best marketing to be doing at this really early stage. So we'll make a start. One of the first things I would say is to definitely plan marketing as part of the rest of the business planning that you'll be doing. You will be being encouraged to make a business plan which outlines how you intend to sort of run your business for the first, second, third, first years trading. And within that, clearly there will be sales targets that you'll need to reach. And the marketing is should be designed to help you to reach those sales targets. And to achieve those sales targets, you'll need to have a plan, really, about how the marketing is going to help you. So it's really important that you put together a good basic plan to help you through your marketing to achieve some of the business targets that you'll be looking at. So how do you go about doing that? Well, one of the first things you need to be thinking about is who you are, what you're going to be, what do you stand for. When you have a brand, it is, I've said, how do you do it? How do you do business? What's the personality of your business? How do you do things differently? If someone had to talk about your business, how would they talk about it? Whenever we do workshops, we always say, okay, if you imagine you were going to be talking about, say, I don't know, John Lewis or Marks and Spencer's or I can't think of another brand at the moment, you would have in your mind fairly quickly an image of what their service is and what they stand for and what they look like and things like that. And that's what you're really trying to build for yourselves. How do you do business? And so this isn't just about your logos and things like that. This is about kind of the personality of the business. You know, if you do invoicing, do you do it in a fun way or a very different way? Or when you deliver your product, does it have kind of fun thank you cards and just things that would be really in fitting with the way that you want to be seen in business and the way you want to do business. So it's really important to start to build your brand. It's not something that happens overnight. You will start, you'll have some quite fixed ideas, and then it will develop as you grow, as you start to get to know yourself better, as you start to get to know the business better and who you want to be engaging with and the sorts of things you want to be doing. So don't beat yourself up and trying to get it right first time, because it won't happen. Very naturally, it will evolve into what it's going to be evolved into. So, you know, looking at your branding, have a sense of what it is right now is a good way to start. The next thing, which is hugely important, is understanding your audience. Pretty crucial, actually. And you need to try and understand them inside out. So, as I always say, it's no point saying we're kind of targeting everyone. It's far, far better and easier on marketing for you to say, I've got 2, 3, 4, 5 different audiences that I'm really like to be speaking to. And when you can really hone it down and understand kind of what motivates them and what they're about and what's kind of the pain point that you fulfill in the service that you offer or in the product that you produce, then it's much, much easier for you to talk about yourselves, because you're talking in relation to a very specific group of people. And as you start to get to know them inside out and more intimately, you can be much cleverer about the type of marketing that you do. And remember, this is the stuff that the big guys are really trying to do. We're smaller businesses. We're much more flexible. We can tap into, you know, a handful of personality types within our business target group far more quickly. We can test things far more quickly with those groups of people than a lot of the big guys do. So it's really worth your while sitting down, trying to work out and understand who your audience is. I've spoken to lots of businesses, Enterprise Nation businesses, who are really quite clear about the personality of them and their business, and they have some strong ideas about who their audience is, and they're really needing to go down the route of doing personas, which is where you create 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 profiles, and you kind of build a whole life around the profile of each set of people. So it's really it's a really worthwhile exercise to get your kind of personas together, because it's much easier when you're targeting, when you're thinking, okay, I'm talking to mums, perhaps down in Kent, who have 2 children, or whatever it is. Where do they go? What do they read? What's a typical week for them? When you build a persona of that person, it's much easier to understand their lives, and then you can then understand more clearly how you go about the marketing to those people. So understanding your audience is important for targeting reasons, for persona reasons, and ultimately, again, coming back to this thing about being a bit more niche about who you're speaking to, because we do not have the budget to be speaking to everybody. So it makes far more financial sense to be a little bit more specific, and to create your tribe, if you like, through specific targeting. The other thing that's super important is for you to look at your competitors. Don't do this in isolation. Really early on, definitely look at the best of who's in your industry, see how they do it, sign up for their stuff, find out how they're sending out their emails. You know, be anonymous, but see how they are doing it. It will give you amazing insight into the sort of frequency and the quality of what they're sending, and most importantly, apart from the fact you'll know exactly where you sit in relation to them, it will also give you some insight how to do it or how not to do it. You know, when you're clear about what your offering is, what your brand is about, you can say, well, that's definitely not me. This is the way I want to do it. This is what makes me different. So it's really important to study your competition. Otherwise, you're not really aware of where you sit in the marketplace if you don't do that. And therefore, when people come to you, they come to your website or they come and meet with you, how can you talk confidently about this is how we're different from others without really knowing what's happening out there in the marketplace? So best to do your research. That could be the real simple stuff that we'll do with questionnaires, or when you're out testing, if you have product, when you're perhaps doing markets or something like that, ask people, get their feedback. Every time you sell something, if you're selling online, you can have a short questionnaire on there when people get to the checkout. There's lots of different ways that you can kind of find out what people want from you, so that you can compare that perhaps to what your competitors are doing and how you can do it differently. And as I say, it's definitely worthwhile signing up for your competitors' material to see how they're doing stuff, because that can give you some really useful insight. One of the things that's going to be really challenging and probably a bit confusing is what's the best route for you to market. We've talked about kind of understanding your competitors. We've talked a little bit about understanding your audience, which is crucial to helping you understand which is the best route, for sure. But there are so many routes, and you sort of feel like, how am I going to manage all of this? Which is the right way, etc., etc. The truth is, you can't manage the whole lot. You can't do the whole lot. It's just loads, and especially when you're first starting up. There's so much other stuff to do. So what I'm going to be talking about today is kind of the basics that I think every new business needs to start with. But yeah, the truth is, you've got regular marketing stuff, and you've got kind of the digital activity. And you know, you've got the straightforward radio and TV and stuff like that, if that applies to you, flyers. But we've got the stuff that everybody else is doing as well regularly, which is, you know, videos, email marketing, social media. This is why it's quite important for you to look and see who your target group is, because then that helps to bring this right down to, okay, my guys are definitely only online, or my guys read this publication, or whatever. It just helps you loads to be able to hone it right down the best way to speak to your target group. When you're in a really specialist area, sometimes just the professional publication or a trade publication or a certain mothers group in a certain vicinity or only on Facebook, it just gets much easier to see where people are. So wouldn't be bamboozled by it, because the truth of the matter is you can't do everything. You have to make a decision to do 2 or 3 routes when you first start, mainly probably because of budget. And sometimes when you first start and you're on a budget, in many ways it's quite exciting, because you're kind of forced to think creatively about, okay, how am I going to get to these people? But you do require some thought. Just going to go in a little bit more detail about that in a bit. One of the issues that will be coming up a lot is how do you kind of find the time to do all of this. I'm not going to go too much into all this, but you just need to be organised. We were talking at the beginning about planning. What I say to startups is, yeah, there's loads of stuff to do, and you need to be organised and say, okay, on a Thursday morning for 2 hours, I'm going to do some marketing activity, and that could be anything from I'm going to plan what my next show, how I'm going to promote to buyers, or how am I going to make sure that everyone knows that I've got a sale coming up. Spend some really specific time on specific days allocated. You block out that time to do it, otherwise it will not get done. All that happens is you service all of your clients, or you make sure you do all your shows, or you're building to get more business, and then the promotion you need to do for your own business, ironically, to get more business, just doesn't happen. So it is best to allocate some time in your week specifically for you to promote your business. And in that time, that could be you following up on leads, you following up on the emails that you haven't done, you following up on those business cards that you got from a networking event that you did. You must make the time. But obviously on social as well, which I think we could touch a little bit shortly, you also need to make sure that you're using perhaps something like one of the social dashboards. I think I'll talk about that a bit in a moment. There are lots of shortcut ways, and if you're working with an advisor, they will be able to help you with that. There's lots of shortcuts for you to help you with your planning, to make sure you're doing things all in one fell swoop rather than going into individual pages, social pages and things like that. But my key thing to get out of finding the time is to allocate the time. So in terms of priorities for smaller businesses, for a small business and for a starter business, actually, I would say what you've really got to concentrate on is some of the obvious, which is, one, making sure that you've got a really good, visible, decent website. It's a no-brainer. There's no way you can do business without a website these days. People expect it, of course. And whilst you're there, there's some great opportunities in terms of template sites. There's no excuse why, if you're testing, you can just set up with a template site, test with that, and once you're happy that what you're doing is right and you're comfortable with it, you can go into something like WordPress or Joomla or one of the sites that you own for yourself, and you own all the coding. You know, a web designer is going to say go straight in and buy your own site, but you know, that's up to you. But the point is, have a really good looking website and come back to branding a site that reflects the personality of your business. Try and make sure it's fully optimized. Take the opportunities on the template sites where they offer to put in all your keywords and things like that. If you're working with a web designer, make sure clearly that it's optimized for mobile. That just goes without saying, so that you can give yourself the best chance of A, being found, and B, looking as professional as possible online. Within your website, and I'm just going to go to the blog, if your site's going to stay static, i.e. there's not much reason for you to be updating your site, one of the ways to keep it fresh, because if you don't do that, it will fall down the rankings with Google, is to have a blog. If you have a blog on your website and you are posting to that on a regular basis, that's one way of keeping your site fresh, of having fresh material, and also a really good way to do sort of link building with colleagues, business colleagues, with partners and things like that. The blog enables you to have a fresh page, for Google to see your fresh page, or the search engines to see your fresh pages. And if you're posting out to partners, that shows you're busy and you're active. Even more important, those partners, if they have material about you and it's posting back to your site, the search engines love that. That's a really useful way for you to make sure that you give yourself the best chance for your website to be on the first page, or very, very clear. So clearly the website, mobile enabled, is a priority. The second thing that I would say, if you were going to do nothing else, is to get email marketing up and running. Whatever business you are in, the only way that you have control over who your customers are is if you have their contact details. And it's all well and good being on social, and I'm going to come to that in a second, but you need to get their contact details so that you can then send them the information that you want to send them. So at every opportunity, whether it's when you're on your stall, whether it's when someone's made an order, however, make sure and get their email address, and preferably all their contact details, but clearly their email address. And don't just get the email address and sit on it and say, I've got my email address. No, get the email address and be in contact with them. And be sensitive as to how frequently, and the material, but be in contact. You know, we've had clients that we've been in contact with on email for 4 years, and they finally come to us 4 years later saying, we're ready now to work with you. But we've always been in contact with them, and they feel much closer to you. They've seen how you've grown. They've seen as you've released new services or new products. You're helping to build your story, and every time you're sending out communications, you're building your brand. So for me, email marketing for startup businesses and for any kind of business is really still very, very crucial. Of course, social media is important too, but for some businesses, their clients will actually not really be using social media. But the fact of the matter is, you do need to have a presence. You may not, people still expect, even though you're a business that doesn't have a clientele that necessarily go onto social media, they somehow now still expect to see you to have some sort of presence. So the way to do that is we're talking about audiences, find out where your audience is. If you're a professional organisation, it may not be on Twitter or Facebook, it may be on something like LinkedIn. If you have an online shop, clearly something like Instagram or Twitter may be more along your lines, but the truth of the matter is you need to have a presence on all the key platforms, and the way to manage that, and we were talking about it briefly earlier, is to use something like Hootsuite or TweetDeck. There's lots. If you just look up social media dashboards, you will find a whole host. They all essentially do the same thing. They enable you to put all of your social media onto a dashboard, so you've got everything in one place and you can post across everything, either all at once or in a timely way according to which social media. And that's a way to help you to manage it. And that way you haven't got too much of a commitment of going into each individual one when actually your tribe doesn't really use social so much, but you've still got a presence if somebody decides to look you up and try and find you. The final thing that I talk a little bit about on here in terms of priority, and we talked about it in relation to the website, is SEO. Search engine optimization is a huge subject on its own, but if you are having someone build your site, the SEO element is really important. There are simple things we've mentioned about link building, which is, you know, you've got partners or colleagues or organisations that you're associated with. A really good way for you to have a strong presence online is to have articles or you be featured in some way on their sites or on their pages. The search engines look for that sort of material that links back to your website, and it's a really strong way of you building a kind of an easy way back to you and building your presence online. There are lots of other SEO tricks in terms of the way the site's actually constructed and things like that. It's a huge area, but you know, I would say the simple opportunities like link building is a really simple thing that you can do to get started on that. I'm not sure how we're doing for time because I've completely just been talking.
Hi, Joe. No, that was bang on 20 minutes, which leaves us with 10 minutes of questions. Thank you. That was absolutely fabulous. You literally just packed in so much advice. So greatly appreciated. So we've got a few questions that have come in. If anyone has any others, there's still time for you to submit those using the chat box. The first one is it important to do market research, and how can I find people to conduct it with?
Yeah, it is important because, I mean, I suppose it depends what, do we know what business this is?
I don't know exactly.
It is important. You know, it's just a position of strength. When you know what's going on in your industry, it really helps you to position yourself. If you don't know what's going on in your industry, you're just going to be like the same as everyone else, probably. But if you know where you sit, whether you're at the top, whether you're in the middle, whether you're at the bottom, it just gives you a position and strength in terms of how you talk about your business, the kind of language you use when you're speaking with customers or clients. You can make the right comparison. You can say, realistically, you can say, well, if what you require is X, Y, and Z, this is where we're at. If you really require, you know, A, B, and C, you might like to consider this. Not that we want to send people elsewhere, but the truth is, if you're not in that target group, that's not what you're about. You need to know that so that you can attract the right kind of people.
Absolutely, fully agree with you there, Joe. Another question here, relating to what you mentioned on link building. I'm good at uploading fresh content to my site, but how can I get other people to link back to mine?
Well, to be honest, one of the best ways is the way that we've done it is that we have either spoken with colleagues and partners that we work with anyway, who are writers or PRs and things like that, so in effect they're either subcontractors or they're colleagues that we've worked with for a long time. Obviously we're in a complementary business because we're an agency, and said, look, we've got this article on this, we think this could be useful to your customers, would you put it on your site and link back to us? And then if you've got something, an article or a piece or some recommendations or something that we think will work well with our customers, we're really happy to put it on our site. When you do a good partnership arrangement in this, if you find a good partner, they're always going to be complementary to what you do. Whatever they have in terms of materials are often going to be very useful and insightful and something slightly different to what you yourself produce, and vice versa. So I would always, to answer the question, I would say start with existing colleagues, partners, or even reach out, which we've done, to colleagues, potential colleagues or partners that could work, that could complement what you do, and you can actively complement what they do. That's a good way to get started. But when you're out networking and meeting people, that's a good opportunity too. See what people are doing, see if that's a thing that could work for your customers, if that's something that they might be interested in, and approach these guys and say, look, this is what we do, we think this will be useful to our customers, this is what we produce, would this be to yours, and see if you can strike up relationships and start that from that angle.
Very nice advice, Joe. Thank you. Another one here. With the rise of digital marketing, is it wise to still conduct kind of traditional marketing, use traditional marketing tools?
For sure. The truth is, as an agency, I don't really recognise the difference. I just see it as one pot. It's just marketing. Just the fact that it's got digital on it, right, because it's all merged, doesn't make any odds. Because often we're doing campaigns online that is directing people to email marketing, and then sometimes that email is potentially, for example, if we're doing direct marketing, like we're posting stuff to people, we will direct them to online. So what I'm trying to say is it's getting mixed up, and we've got TV directing to text, we've got we've got advertisements directing people to email marketing. It's kind of all crossing over. So the answer to the question is yes, traditional marketing still has a place. I think one of the big differences is whatever you are doing, make sure that you can measure it. Of course, that's often where digital has the great advantage. But whatever you decide to do, have codes on it, whether it's traditional like paper stuff, or if it's a flyer or or if it's presentations or whatever, make sure that you can quantify it in some way, that you can measure it, because obviously all the activity takes time and money, so we want to be able to see what works best so that you can use it again.
Perfect. Thank you, Jo. And thank you to all those that have tuned in today and for all of your questions. If anyone has anything outstanding that they would like to ask Jo, feel free to email us at hello@enterprisenation.com. And Jo, if you don't mind, we'll pass those on to you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. To any businesses on the line who are in Havering and haven't benefited from the programme that we are running with Havering Council, please visit enterprisenation.com/Havering, and you can find out more information about that free programme and all the events that we have lined up over the coming months. But thank you, Jo, for your time, and thank you to everyone that's tuned in.
You're welcome.
Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.